City planners presented 3 semi-final designs today. All focus on building up the waterfront area in a manner which will enhance its natural beauty and bring in new tourism-related businesses. 3 different themes are being considered. The first is the simple and rustic nautical style. Then they're also considering focusing on the historical value of the waterfront. And lastly is to bring in a more international theme with a more formal and classic design. No matter which theme is chosen, city planners say a constant image must be established.
I think the important thing is that we will begin to develop a consistent image and theme and sense about the Canal Park area, whichever one of the 3 might be selected. And that consistency, that sense of having an integrated space that all works well together, is the important feature of a design plan like this.
But how will the waterfront's historical warehouse district fit into this new scenario? Several businesses have already moved to the West Duluth industrial area, but some foresee the 2 industries mixing together naturally under the new plans.
Not everyone is going to change to retail for commercial. And that's probably desirable anyway, because we'd like to see a mix. We'd like to see a good mix, and there are some uses down there that have moved already, some industrial uses out to the industrial parks, and we'll see more of that. There will probably be a few that relate fairly well to tourism.
Businesses that are healthy and thriving is what makes a waterfront exciting and interesting to all people, whether it be commercial or tourists or local residents. And those businesses that are appropriate, that are making their mark there, that's what belongs there.
Mixed-use programs across the country have been very successful. The Canal Park project is slowly evolving. Plans must be finalized and monies found to support them before we'll see if Duluth is to become one of those success stories. In Duluth, Patty Craig, TV6 News.
We were playing checkers at that time, and the alert came off, and nobody got excited because they thought it was maneuvers. That was the heavy thing at that time. And we went out on the parade ground, and we could see all these airplanes flying over, and there was a lot of strafing of the area, and you could hear the noise even at Pearl Harbor, and you could see all the black smoke coming up from Pearl Harbor there, and nobody really knew what was going on.
As winter threatens to shut down the Great Lakes, shipping companies rush to get their vessels in and out of port as quickly as possible. This week, 20 lake vessels and 2 ocean-going ships are expected in the Twin Ports, with another 6 Lakers and 2 Salties scheduled to leave. The end of the season rush is not uncommon, but shipping experts say it would be much greater if the St. Lawrence Seaway were kept open longer. Each year, Great Lakes shipping officials lobby to keep the Seaway open longer, especially when good weather holds like this year. But so far, they've had no success, causing substantial financial loss. Seaway officials did say this year they might keep the system open later than the usual mid-December, but hesitated to set a date. Officials say that uncertainty caused ship owners to balk.
A lot of the possible demand which could have been here, it's gone. It's too late.
Once a date is set to close the Seaway, any ship that doesn't clear in time faces multi-thousand-dollar fines for each day they're late. But while the Salty season has been cut short once again this year, the Laker season has been extended. Officials at the Soo Locks have agreed to keep that system open until January 31st, weather permitting. Twin Port shippers say that, at least, is a step in the right direction. Barbara Riles, TV6 News.
Current estimates put the number of homeless people in the Duluth area around 300. Emergency shelters and staying with friends are a couple of ways people are trying to cope. Duluth will become the first city in Minnesota to start a new program with HUD, in which neighborhood homes are set up for temporary housing. The Duluth Community Support Program has leased a house in the Central Hillside from HUD to prepare residence for 3 women. There are more men in emergency shelters, but the support program has chosen to help women. Only 3 people will benefit from the program's housing plan.
Every person counts, and by helping 3 people, we help those 3 people. Hopefully we demonstrate that people who are homeless can live in the community given the opportunity, and we keep the issue in the public eye.
The 3 women who will be living in the home will not be charged rent. HUD has specified grants will have to be used to support the program. Instead of charging rent, members of the support group will supervise the women and encourage them to save money.
What that will do will give them the opportunity to build up a nest egg so that when they move after several months to more permanent housing, they'll be able to pay the deposit, pay for the furnishings, and be able to move into a decent apartment.
The house will be different than SRO housing already established in Duluth. It will be more of a family setting. The Human Development Center will see how the first housing start goes here before deciding whether to expand. Brian Allen, TV6 News.
$5,251.33 for $92.50.
Same sign. If he chooses not to accept, then the City Council can appoint an interim mayor until the next election. And therefore, if he chooses not to continue to serve as mayor, it seems the City Council must either designate one of its own members and vote that person in as mayor, or appoint a search committee to find someone who's willing to serve and who's qualified.
Cards, right? We do that first so they could get back, and somebody was just telling me that. Was that you? Right. That it's already been on the 6 News. You're going to have a report today?
Yeah. Oh, great.
So
pictures, not words, best tell the story of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Over 2,000 U.S. servicemen were killed that day, scores of others injured, ships and planes destroyed. In Duluth today, veterans of Pearl Harbor and World War II gathered to remember those who died.
Almighty God, we ask that thou be with us today as we remember those in Pearl Harbor. This day will live in infamy.
Mayor John Fito declared today Pearl Harbor Day in Duluth, and the Proctor Band showed its patriotism through its music. Later, the ceremony moved outdoors, where veterans placed a wreath on the waters of Lake Superior as a gesture of their feelings for those who died, while others remembered back to that day 47 years ago and talked about the importance of ceremonies like the one held today.
It changed everybody's lives, and I think that in this day and age of strife in the world, that everyone should remember Pearl Harbor and be patriotic.
In the system for some of them.
All the opportunities.
The city of Carlton has a problem. Its fire department is not equipped to handle a chemical emergency. The concern is over ChemStar, a plant within the city limits that manufactures chemicals. The fire department has gone through training to deal with hazardous materials, but does not have the tools to deal with a possible fire at ChemStar.
We're being made aware of the chemicals they're using over there in their manufacturing, and also training our people to deal with the chemicals with ChemStar, setting up basic things that they can do over there to make their plants safer so we don't have a problem over there.
The cities of Cloquet and Renshaw have the capability to deal with hazardous chemical fires, but they are 5 minutes away, and if the worst happens, that is too far. The Carleton Fire Department has to decide immediately how bad the situation is, because the threat of evacuation is real.
You know, if you see the layout of this town where that plant is, southwesterly winds bring whatever happens at that place right downtown, past the courthouse, past our schools, into our nursing home area and everything else. So.
ChemStar has some minimal firefighting equipment in-house, but it's not enough. The Carleton Fire Department is 1 block away from ChemStar, but should something happen here, that's not close enough. So together, the two are teaming up to work out a plan to fight a major fire should it occur here at ChemStar. ChemStar is looking to incorporate a dry chemical extinguishing system into its expansion and other options to make the plant and the people of Carleton safer. In Carleton, Brian Allen, TV6 News.
Okay.
The suicide hotline at the Human Resources Center in Douglas County. At this time of the year, those on the listening end will hear from more people who really intend to kill themselves. That means they have a definite plan and the means to carry it out. At other times of the year, most of the people are only thinking about ending their lives and haven't gone so far as to map out the details. Some people believe the holidays play a big role. Every message sent out indicates people are supposed to be happy, but some people aren't.
There doesn't seem to be anything unusual about the problems, except that this time of the year it bothers people more. They can handle it other times of the year, but they have a little more difficulty coping this time of the year.
Now, if all the decorations and parties aren't bolstering your spirits and are actually getting you down, don't jump to any drastic conclusions.
Christmas time blues generally does not mean you're thinking of killing yourself because you can't tolerate the Christmas time blues. You know, everyone gets a touch of Christmas time blues, but that's not depression. And I would say, as a personal check on yourself, if you are having suicidal thoughts, that's much more than Christmas time blues.
Experts say there are definite warning signs that precede suicide. The 3 most common are hopelessness, helplessness, and emotional isolation.
Feeling that on their own they can't do anything about these problems, they don't know who to turn to, they may have turned to people and been rebuffed or minimized, and that tells them there's no way out except suicide.
These are important to remember. If someone you know talks about feeling this way, don't take it lightly. They may be seriously thinking about suicide. Talk to them about why they're feeling the way they are. Get them to talk about the consequences of an attempted suicide. Also, try to find out if they're abusing alcohol or drugs. Many people who kill themselves are intoxicated before dying. Finally, make sure they know where to get professional help.
It's important to realize that your thinking changes when you get depressed. You know, generally people don't consider suicide unless they are depressed. And depression is a very treatable psychiatric illness. If you remove depression, people generally don't think about suicide.
Tomorrow, we'll specifically address teen suicide and talk to Tim Motor, who knows a lot about it.
I considered suicide because I didn't see the things that I had in my life and as being as worth having, I guess.
In Superior, Julie Howard, TV6 News.
It's provided the people of West Duluth with the types of services every community needs, an inexpensive public recreation center, and a place to go when you have nowhere else to sleep.
The Y is downtown. Both the Ys are downtown. For this end of town, there is no facility out here. The schools do have gyms, but they're not often available for public use. There is one other pool here, but there's been room enough for both of us. And I do a lot of warm water things in my pool and for special needs people.
But the Koino Center cannot pay its bills, even with the people who care helping out.
Thank you. Thank you guys for standing behind too.
Our families used it all the time, and the children have used it. Now the grandchildren are using it. And I've been swimming here every day for 4 years, every morning.
The Koino Center hoped their problems were solved when the Salvation Army came into the picture, suggesting they might take over. But the Salvation Army says they never made any commitments to do so, and in the long run they decided the Koino Center just wasn't a good investment. The Army just doesn't have the thousands of dollars needed to make Koino work.
You know, contrary to opinions, you know, we don't have a barrel where we can just pull out $100,000 either, you know, and that's what a person would almost have to come up with to pay off all the back debts that are owed, plus try and keep up with the programs and to pay the bills on the building. And you know, there are a lot of major things facing that building in the future.
Major Reed says even the building itself has some major problems. An old roof, an old furnace, and no sprinkler system. Does the center really have a fighting chance?
We do have a fighting chance. You're darn right we've got a fighting chance. By doing the things, and the figures show, we put it on paper. I mean, if we rent those rooms out and how much we can get for them, that will bring in the extra cash flow that's needed.
The next few months will make all the difference. Although things look grim, the Koino Center is positive they'll make it. They're already planning a celebration party for New Year's. In West Duluth, Patty Craig, TV6 News.
Needs and develop a set of standards that would fit into those erosion rates. They would have to be set back X number of feet to provide the...
We've had a long-standing concern about how to address the unique resource that's represented by the North Shore Lake Superior. We've had some concerns about the way development has occurred along the shoreline for many years. And I really think that this plan and the cooperative relationship that's established through it are going to provide that framework and provide the guidance we need long term.
Thanks to DNR for even considering us and people living on the North Shore. I think also if we look at...
Might be more inclined to get in touch with the locals and give them some real authority to do something along this line?
Well,
But we do have a lot of people that are real interested in seeing other people's homes, especially at Christmas time when they're all decorated for the season. We have 4 beautiful homes on tour that you can walk through, and our little country church where we're having a bazaar and a bake sale.
The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources says dredge material like this, pulled from the bottom of Duluth's and other harbors, is bound to be polluted, and therefore it must be treated with more care than it has been in the past. A proposal before the legislative committees would do just that, and in the process, severe damage to ports like Duluth Superior, which must dredge to stay alive. Port Director Davis Helberg says he's as concerned as the DNR about dredge spoils, but he says proper care is being taken now.
What I had urged and what we had urged was that they lay it aside, go back to the drawing board, address the interests of the ports. Wisconsin ports, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Superior, have a long, proud history of serving the regional industry, agriculture, mining. All of that would seem to be trampled on if we're not allowed to do something as basic as dredging without all sorts of new, extremely high costs.
As it stands, the DNR proposal would virtually eliminate a $13 million Upper Harbor deepening project. It would also add prohibitive costs to current dredge needs. The Metropolitan Interstate Committee has proposed a new dredge disposal plant, including 2 Wisconsin sites. That would have to be altered. Duluth Port officials gave strong testimony in Madison. They hope to see the plan killed in committee. Dave Helberg feels the proposal is strongly worded because the DNR hasn't given industry a chance to speak. He hopes to change that. Dave Janch, TV6 News.
No, frankly, I don't know. Yeah.
Cocooning. The word brings up visions of families nestled together in their living rooms, enjoying one another's company. That's exactly the definition the term has taken on in the late 1980s. People are finding there's a certain safety in their own homes, and the boom in the home entertainment and even gardening industries further supports that theory.
The home. I mean, I was amazed when I saw these figures. $748 million worth. They're coming out with compact machines that can do everything in one little machine. You can put it inside the corner of your den. One piece of equipment that you can do everything on. All kinds of body parts can get worked on it, and you can get your workout, your toning, your firming right at home.
And there's a good part of the year where we need to be exercising indoors. Obviously, there are a couple ways to do that, in the home or in a facility that can accommodate that. And I think that people are more and more going toward exercising in their home because the products are better and better for home use, but also they're able to have more convenience at home.
There's all kinds of exercise equipment out there, but not all will give you the type of workout you need. Yours should be endurance-based and exercise all parts of the body. The cross-country machines on the market can do that. Whatever you do, it's important to find some help to keep that blood pumping for a healthy future. Steve Karsjan, TV6 News.
There are matters of environmental concern, and you do have to clean up things like asbestos on ship, any oils and greases that may be on the ship, and make those kinds of preparations for diver safety as well as environment prior to sinking the ship.
In 1987, there was only one major producer of peat in Minnesota. 1988 saw major expansion within the industry, including the construction of 2 large plants in the Northland and plans for further growth. Minnesota is rich in this natural resource with more than 6 million acres of harvestable peatland. In Europe, peat is used primarily for energy, but because there are abundant cheaper energy sources in the U.S., peat has been largely overlooked. In Duluth today, industry experts discussed how research has shown peat has tremendous value for other uses. Most of the peat harvested in Minnesota will be used for horticultural purposes. Because of its ability to hold moisture and create air spaces in soil, it's excellent for potting soil mixes, rooting and germinating purposes. It's also used as a golf course top dressing. 1988 was among the best years the industry has seen for production of horticultural peat.
Our company harvests dry sphagnum primarily, and that can only be harvested in dry weather. So this past summer was an excellent summer for us.
Ted Tower runs a large peat plant in Cromwell and says they did over $1 million business this year, producing more than 300,000 bales of peat, up more than 3 times the average production. With the abundant peat resource in Minnesota, industry spokesmen say they have no concerns the resource will ever run out.
Michigan Peat has been harvesting peat out at Cromwell on 1,500 acres for the last 30 years. We only harvest a small amount each year, and I do not foresee any problem ever.
Spokesmen say they expect a major boom in the peat industry over the next few years. Barbara Riles, TV6 News.
Tim Motor is 19. At 15, he thought about ending it all.
I felt I could go on and on trying to fill the space inside me that felt empty without ever filling it. And that's what I really wanted, to feel needed, to feel content, and I didn't think anything could make me content, so what use was it to live?
He ended up in Miller Dwan for 2 weeks and learned there were a lot of reasons to keep on living.
I don't think anyone really wants to die. I think it's that they don't feel there's anything worth living for. It's just that they're trying to escape.
Tim now knows escape isn't the answer.
They helped me realize that some things weren't as bad as I thought they were, and that the things that were bad could be changed. Maybe not easily, but they could be changed, and it was worth changing.
Tim says the key is communication. Teenagers need to learn to talk about their problems with people who can help them solve them. He says anyone who hears a teen talk about suicide should take him or her seriously and make the person understand it's worth it to work the problems out.
And then I'd talk about positive things in their life and try and make the positive bigger than the problem so that they see that there's something to live for. Just listen, talk, listen, share with them, and allow them to tell me exactly why they're feeling the way they are, and try and make them see there's something to live for.
Tim has gone from thinking about suicide to thinking about the future. He's completed chemical dependency treatment, gotten his GED, and is going into the Navy after Christmas. He's also joined a Bible study class, which makes him realize just how important he is.
Because life is a precious thing, and I know that at one point it was worthless to me. My own life didn't mean very much to me. Now I see that my life is worth something, and everybody's life is worth something.
In Superior, Julie Howard, TV6 News.
Matt Johnson is a senior at Barnum High School, but illness has kept him out of the classroom. For the past few weeks, Matt has been hospitalized at St. Mary's Hospital in Rochester, where he is fighting cancer. His classmates found out a short time ago how serious his condition is. Since he was diagnosed, Matt has been in the classroom only one day. The student body at Barnum High School is fighting right alongside Matt.
and being such a small community that when something this serious happens, everybody does pull together, which it is amazing. I think it's, none of us actually know or expected the extent that everybody would pull together, because there are a lot of things that are going on for them.
The costs for Matt's hospital stay and treatment are enormous, but the community and his classmates are trying to help out by holding fundraisers to help his family deal with the expense. His classmates are trying to boost his morale during his stay and don't want him to think he's being forgotten.
We are, as a class, we're putting together a videotape for him and sending that down there of different activities that are going on in school, and, that'll help him.
The faculty at Barnum High School has gotten involved as well and is helping out wherever it can. One of Matt's teachers says it has been some time since the school was so united for one cause.
Now with this tragedy, it's brought everybody together again. It's probably a bad reason to come together, but at least everybody's pulling for Matt and working out together.
Matt's classmates made the trip to see him the day after Thanksgiving and are waiting for him to be moved out of intensive care so they can make the trek again to be with their friend. In Barnum, Brian Allen, TV6 News.
The sister-city relationship between Duluth and Petrosavast has been more than an exchange of plaques and flags. It has been an exchange of ideas and cultures. Now, well into its second year, the exchange program will move into the trade and industry field. Tonight, members from both the American and Soviet delegation announced an entrepreneur exchange.
A minimum of 3 people will go from here over to Petrozavodsk, maybe 5, and spend 8 weeks studying business practices.
Over that 2-month period, the Duluthians chosen will learn about industry and trade ideas in the Soviet Union, while their Russian counterparts do the same here. Officials say the program is a perfect example of how Soviet-American relations are moving from a formal Moscow-Washington relationship to a more personal one.
Because in our citizen diplomacy, the official relationships are not enough. And in our Sister City project, more people should be involved on a people-to-people level.
And there is every indication the Sister City project will include more opportunities for Duluthians. Today, officials on both sides signed an agreement for next year, which includes an official delegation of athletes from Duluth traveling to Petrosavast. Duluth officials have always talked positively about the Sister City relationship, and members of the Russian delegation say they've benefited so much from the Duluth connection that they'll now seek out an additional Sister City relationship with a West German city. In Duluth, Andrew Wittenberg, TV6 News.
On a people-to-people level.
Hanukkah is a festival of lights in the Jewish community. Lasting for over 2,000 years, it is a celebration of courage.
You, in effect, kindle lights against the darkness. We do what we can against the hard forces which are always surrounding us and can make life very difficult.
The Jewish festival always begins with the evening. Hanukkah lasts through 8 nights. Tonight begins the last night of Hanukkah. It will end at sunset tomorrow. Youngsters are very much involved in the celebration as well. They explain what it means to them.
It means that we're symbolizing that 8 days that the oil lasted. Getting presents and celebrating when Judah Maccabee got all that oil for only 8 days for when they ran out of oil.
This celebration of courage, according to Rabbi Holtz, has become much more important over the past few years.
Whether we're talking about the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians or the destruction of the second temple by the Romans, exile from various countries in Europe, the Holocaust is simply the latest of a series of disasters. Each by itself would have been enough reason for Jewish history to end, but somehow we have continued.
In Duluth, Patty Baker, TV6 News.
The results of Armenia's tragic earthquake are being felt worldwide. Televised reports such as these have made this natural disaster a universal calamity.
At an Armenian church in Moscow, mourners gathered to say special prayers for friends and relatives.
Thousands of people across the globe are expressing their sympathy by sending material aid. The Soviet Republic is receiving boxloads of medical supplies, food, clothing, and blankets, and even some blood donations each day. International flights continually arrive carrying these goods, as well as volunteer rescue workers and more rescue and search equipment. Minnesotans are looking to get involved in the earthquake relief efforts. Tonight, the first local move to help was made at the hockey game between the UMD Bulldogs and the Moscow Dynamos. Members of the Blue Line Club organized the fundraiser. They passed a bucket around the arena asking for some assistance from hockey fans. They're hoping to do for the Armenians what they would like to see done for themselves under the same circumstances.
I would like to think that people in other countries who are, capable of helping would help us if we had a catastrophe. It's such a gigantic earthquake, everybody is so surprised at the vastness of the destruction and the amount of people that were killed or injured. It's really brought about a lot of reaction because of that, I think.
Minnesota state officials are planning a statewide emergency relief program. They're asking private medical and healthcare companies to donate medical equipment and supplies. They will also be collecting bedding, clothing, and tents at Minnesota's National Guard armories. And they want to set up an 800 telephone number to serve as a clearinghouse for the relief project. State organizations with Armenian ties will join in the effort. One such group is opening a bank trust account to accept cash donations. No matter how much money and supplies are raised by these efforts, it's certain that the people of Armenia can use whatever help they can get. In Duluth, Patty Craig, TV6 News.
All this is being sent to those victims of the earthquake in Yerevan.
Where the instructors offer our class free, and then all the students will bring a free toy or a gift to be donated to the area's needy children. So it's doing something fun and good for ourselves as well as something for the community.
Welcome and Merry Christmas. The Duluth Women, and much of the narration in this beginning.
"70 years have passed since Ed Curnow served in France in World War I. Today, his efforts to liberate France from the Germans was remembered with a citation from the French government. The Duluth VFW Post 137 was on hand to present the award.
And the citation reads, "I salute you, citizens of America, who entered into the history of Europe through the great arch on the front of which are inscribed the names of Washington, Jefferson, and other noblemen who fought for the rights of humanity."
Ed is 96 and lived most of his life in Ely. The past 4 years, he's been living at the Lake Haven Manor nursing home in West Duluth. He recalled for us his year in France from 1917 to 1918 and the battle at the Argonne Forest.
We drove them out of the Argonne, in the Argonne woods.
And you're very proud of that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we lost some men there, but we got the best of them.
Ed's daughter, Mary Peterson of Duluth, was the one who contacted the French government, which was looking to honor U.S. servicemen who fought the Germans in France. She says her father has told her a few things about the war, but one thing in particular really sticks in her mind.
Mostly that he volunteered and was proud to serve the country because it's the country he was going to live in and make his living in, and he was proud to serve.
Steve Karsjan, TV6 News.
Go into store.
On a cold, snowy day in Duluth, it can be tough to keep your spirits up when working outside. But these building construction students of the Duluth Technical Institute have their hopes to keep them warm. The University of Petrozavodsk would like to arrange an exchange of construction students to study the building techniques of each country. If it can be arranged, 8 to 10 DTI students would spend a month in Petrozavodsk working with builders on an assigned project. Instructor Leo Pliwa, who also would go, believes everyone could learn something from the visit.
I think there's going to be an exchange of ideas, and anytime there's an exchange of ideas, there's the possibility that new techniques and new ideas will come out of it.
Pliwa says he knows very little about Soviet building techniques, but believes even if both countries do things exactly the same way, the experience would still be good for his students. Those students I talked with felt the same way.
Well, it's experience that I can't really pass up. I may not ever get that chance to see how they live over there and build over there.
See how they live, and when they come back here, they can see how we live and learn their building trades, and they can come back here and learn ours.
The first 3 weeks of the month in Petrozavodsk would be strictly business, but during the last week, students would be given free time to explore our sister city.
I was hoping to gain just more what their lifestyle is like and what their construction ways. They might have a quicker, easier, faster way of doing things. I just wanted to go for the experience, really.
As with any exchange, the visit of the DTI class would be followed by a visit from a delegation of Petrozavodsk builders who would work with DTI classes and study American techniques. There's still a lot of red tape to clear and details to be worked out, but spokesmen say they're hopeful this first-of-its-kind trade student exchange can be arranged. On Trinity Road, Barbara Riles, TV6 News.
Duluth was pretty well covered because we sent Coast Guard cutters from Detroit and from Port Huron and then from Sault Ste. Marie to come up and finish the ice breaking and the buoys for us. So Duluth has been covered.
Yeah, you can cut down 8 inches here. How about over there? Oh, yes, around everywhere we go.
People do you have here supporting you this morning?
Yeah, what do we got here about? 49ers. 50? The best one I heard here last night, though, was I stopped there. He says, one of the guys on their stand by the barrel, he says, I got
Representatives from the Department of Natural Resources in both Wisconsin and Minnesota and elected officials and concerned residents from 5 different counties all came to discuss the new idea. The states want to buy an abandoned railroad track and turn it into another recreational trail. But the highlight of this trail is that it would open the door for more tourism dollars and economic development from the Twin Cities.
We don't know what the future is going to bring. Certainly Minneapolis-St. Paul is the cultural communications center, banking center of the Midwest. Fiber optics, whatever trails system we need to put into our area of communication, of transportation, that trail would facilitate it. Not perhaps tomorrow, but in the future certainly. It's to our mutual advantage to keep that trail open.
The 83-mile track begins in the Twin Ports near Pattison Park in southern Superior and travels south to St. Croix Falls just north of the Twin Cities. The trail would pass through 5 different counties, Douglas, Burnett, and Polk counties in Wisconsin, and Pine and Carleton counties in Minnesota. One of the reasons for today's meeting was to coordinate the counties under one plan for buying and utilizing the recreational trail.
When you have these many people, this many local units of government, like I see Wisconsin's dealing with all the counties, we do have interest by some of our local townships for township road use, and all that stuff has to be worked out before we can really say what uses are going to be on that grade.
Once a piece of the 85-mile line is lost, we've lost the entire trail. So it's imperative that the DNIs, that the two states, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the 5 counties involved get together today.
That's the most pressing reason for the group discussion. There's a deadline to meet. The railroad is anxious to free its hands of the liability, and they could sell privately instead. The track would cost Wisconsin around $300,000 and Minnesota half of that. Everyone agreed to pursue the purchase, and the state will be making a buyout proposal to the railroad company. In Superior, Patty Craig, TV6 News.
Homeless people sometimes live in cardboard boxes, and for 24 hours, about a dozen St. Scholastica students will find out for themselves what it's like. They set up their shantytown at noon today, hoping their sacrifice will make fellow students stop for a moment and think about those who have no place to live.
We're just trying to create an awareness on campus for the problem, and even just to educate 1 or 2 more people about it. You know, we're not trying to change the world by any means.
Some of the students have jobs or other commitments, so they'll take turns staying outside. But a couple are planning to brave the cold weather all night. Melissa is one of them, and because she's also fasting, she is a little concerned about her health.
A little bit, but if it gets too bad, if it's frostbite or whatever, I'll probably go in. So, but I don't plan on it right now.
The mostly upper-middle-class students planned their outdoor vigil over Thanksgiving when they were in Washington, D.C. While there, they visited a homeless shelter. They say anyone who thinks people are homeless because they want to be is wrong.
I dare them to go for a week and live with them and see what it's like, because that's what I thought, and it's not true. In the shelter we stayed, there are 1,400 people, and 75% of them have jobs.
Most of the students walking by did stop and ask what was going on. After finding out, many thought it was a good idea.
Somebody needs to do something for it. Then if I had the time, I'd probably do it myself.
Tonight, John Young, an expert on homelessness, will speak on campus. He'll be joined by Dave Olson, a Duluthian who fasted for some 40 days this fall to draw attention to the plight of the homeless. At St. Scholastica, Julie Howard, TV6 News.
Barco's done a really very credible job in the last 2 years in the face of Chapter 11 and all the constraints that you have in a Chapter 11 proceeding.
Officials with Monson Trucking talked to reporters about the 3-week strike by Teamsters against their company, but they decided to tell their side of the story without any cameras or microphones in the room.
But you're not going to answer any camera or anything?
No, I think, that...
Are you going to answer them, though, for a radio microphone?
Monson made public a number of documents, including its contract proposal. Company President Robert Monson says the union did not negotiate in good faith, largely because Teamster official Sherman Limitanen wanted a strike. Monson says workers were told to start saving their money a year ago and be prepared to walk out. Tonight, Limitanen said that charge was unfounded and that Monson laughed off many of the union's proposals.
And then the responses of the company to say that 99 9/10% of this proposal is no. That was from the very first meeting. I think they clearly at that point demonstrated that there is not going to be any collective bargaining conducted.
Monson has been trying to hire replacement workers. The move admittedly has not had much success because of a shortage of qualified drivers in the industry. But many members of the union say intimidation tactics are being used to scare drivers back to work.
I'm just like the rest of the drivers. I'm not worried about getting my job back. I've already been told that I'm one of them that ain't coming back.
Monson says hiring replacement workers is not an intimidation tactic, but a matter of survival for the company. In Duluth, Andrew Wittenberg, TV6 News.
Not all. I mean, some don't even have cardboard boxes.
Some live in plastic bags. Others don't have anything but the cloth, if they have that.